Hello, welcome this Sunday night to Chinese painting class. So we're going to get started. Again, if you have questions or anything of that sort, just write them in the comments. Even though this is a replay, you can still write your questions in the comment and I will see them later on and answer them, all right? So we're going to do a landscape today, so we're finally getting into picture stuff. So what you need today is 2 bottles of water or containers of water. Again, one for your ink and one to clean your brushes, or one to add water, one to clean your brushes. And I recommend 2 palettes, one for your ink, and we are going to do watercolors, and one for your watercolors, because this ink really runs fast and it just runs everywhere, and I had issues with it running into the watercolor and mixing in, so I would keep them separate. It just is a lot easier. And you're going to need your brushes, and if you got the watercolors on Dick Blick, you're going to need 56, which is a blue. You're going to need 50 and 25 yellow. So if you have regular watercolors, aim for a basic blue, a bright yellow, a white watercolor, and then if you have black watercolor, if you don't have the ink, grab that as well. All right, so I'm going to set these aside. Got your brushes. Hello, Cindy. And you're going to want some kind of rag or paper towel, and obviously a big sheet of watercolor paper. I think that's all I think we need. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, which we did not do in other classes because we're just doing some strokes, we are going to tape this paper with masking tape. If you don't have masking tape, you can, it's not going to make or break. It's just we're going to saturate this with water, and sometimes it will bow, and it's just frustrating to paint. Even after, if it bows and it dries, there's a way to flatten it out. It won't wreck your artwork. It's just a lot nicer to have it flat. So if you don't have masking tape, you can maybe pin it down or whatever, but most people have some kind of masking tape. So what I'm going to do is pull this off, like just eyeball how long it should be. And here's a trick that you need to do. If you have a sweater or a pair of jeans, I have a sweater here, you're going to want to take the tape and kind of put it on your sweater and go back and forth a little bit. What you're aiming for is some lint on the back. You're not going to see it, but you want some lint on the back of the tape, because when you take it off after you're done, it will less likely to rip. If you put fresh tape on here, your paper will probably rip. I mean, you can still do it, it's just harder. So I'm just going to line each edge here and tape it down. I have a placemat here that's like plastic that I'm using. And if you do watercolor, you usually tape down your paper as well. So I'm just going to tape it all around the edge like a frame. And actually, when you take it off, it'll look like a nice frame, which is another reason I like it. So as I'm taping this, we're going to do a mountain landscape, a simple mountain landscape, and we're going to put bamboo in front of it since we practiced it last week. So you already should know somewhat how to do bamboo, and it's actually a lot easier than a large sheet because you can flow more with your hand. It's not so tight. But I was trying to do a whole bunch of little things last week, and this will be actually a lot easier, I think. All right, so I have this all taped down here. All right, first you're going to do is you're going to take your blue and a dot of blue and a dot of white, and you're going to mix it. We're making a light blue here, which we're going to be using more than once here. So just a dot. I would say about half and half, or maybe even a little more white. And if you have regular professional Western watercolors, it will be a lot thicker. This is more runnier. So you might only need like a pea size if you have Western watercolors and just add more water. This has kind of water, so it's more watery. So I need to put a little more out. I'm going to just take a brush. I'm going to pull some blue out. I'm just going to mix a light blue. And that's kind of the color you're aiming for. We're going to be watering it down anyway. You just don't want it completely dark. Okay? Alright, so what we're going to do is called a wash. So I want you to grab your big brush, the biggest one you have. And I want you to saturate it with your water. And it doesn't matter which one right now. Okay, remember how we hold the brush? 2 fingers here, your 2 top fingers, your thumb, and you can rest your bottom fingers here or on the back. The thing is, you want your whole arm to move, not just your wrist. And we're just we're gonna actually just paint with water here and go across the top, maybe about here, just with water. With watercolors, this is called a wash. And you just want to get wet. All right. I don't want to do the whole paper, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Now I want you to grab some of the blue we just mixed up. You can add a little water to it or whatever. And we're just going to just make a mountain outline. And it might bleed a little, and that's okay. But you want to leave I want to leave some white at the top. So it just makes some bumps. It really is that simple. And you're going to just, oh, and then this is, remember the side brush we did when we take the side of the brush and we pulled it down and we're using the whole arm. This is just the side brush stroke. I'm just pulling it down. All the way. Just like that. So we're going to work on some tone variations here. The top mountain's going to be light or blue. And if you see here, I showed online, or showed a picture. You notice this is blue, and then it's light gray, and it gets darker as you go down each mountain. It's just to give some tone variation. All right, so this is just the blue up here. Next, I want you to take your other palette and put your black ink in here. Shake it up. Or if you have watercolor, if you have watercolor, you can probably use the same palette. This ink is not watercolor, and it just likes to go everywhere. So just to make it easy, I'm just separating this. Now, to make it very light, I'm actually going to put a pile of water here and just add a little bit. Instead of trying this is very dark and overpowering, and I don't want to try to just lighten it up. It'd be easier if I just put a pile of water here. So I'm rinsing off my brush here. And I'm taking, this is my clean water, the one I'm not rinsing my brush out of. That's the water I'm adding stuff to. So I'm just putting like a little pile of water here. I'm just going to take some black and put some in there. Might have to add a little more water. That's fine. You might want to test it out. See how it gets, see how it runs everywhere when you add water? That's why I want a different palette. Now I'm not going to do a wash here if you have ink, because ink acts a little differently than watercolor. It kind of just goes everywhere. It will just run all over the page. So I'm not going to do a wash for this part. So this should be dry. That's why I only wanted to wet the top part here. Okay, I'm going to put this ink. I'm going to test it. Let's maybe add a little more water. You want it pretty light. And we're going to do the same thing Might want to go a little higher though. But I don't want to touch the blue quite yet. We don't want it to run together. And then what I'm going to do is just drag. Same thing with the side brush. Okay, I'm going to rinse your brush. And this should be still a little wet. And what you're going to do, not going to have your brush really wet. You're going to just take this and pull it down just a little bit. But not all the way, just to cover a little more space, but you don't want it to run. It'll look like a misty cloud between them, which is what we want to do. Okay? Now with the same ink that we just mixed up with the water, I'm just going to add a little more to it and do a medium tone. Again, I'm not adding water. See how dark this is. Yeah, see how it's just a little darker. And we're going to repeat the same process. And we're going to pull it down. And if you need to dip your brush in water, you might have to. And it will get a little lighter as you pull down. And that's fine. It will give it a misty look. And my music went off. Alright. This ink dries a lot quicker than watercolor, so sometimes you'll get a line there. I'm just trying to pull it down. You can even add a little more ink if you have to. There's the side brush stroke again. And yet again, we're going to do the same thing at the end with dark. However, you don't want it straight black. You want it, let me see, show you the example. It's like a dark gray, but it's not black. Okay? Same thing, we're just repeating the process here. Alright. And you want to work quickly because it does dry. Pull it down. This one you can pull all the way down. And if it runs a little bit, it does give some interesting look. Don't worry about it. I just didn't want completely submerging with all together and just not having any kind of boundary or separation here. But sometimes it does give some interesting blend in here, and that's fine. Again, you can pull this down a little more. And even this, if you feel like you want to cover some space. Alright, so you're going to end up with something like that looks like this. I'll show you a little more. Now, obviously, you would just let this dry before you put the bamboo, but I'm not going to make you wait. I did another one. Last week, I didn't do things in steps and let it dry like beforehand, and things just ran everywhere. So, I know now to do things in steps here. So, this is what you should have, but you would let it dry. So, I'm going to move this out of the way. And this is one I pre-did. Okay, now we're going to add some big bamboo, 2 big bamboo going up the center, or kind of more to the left. And this is going to be a medium brush. And this is kind of what we did last week. We did a bone stroke up here as the stalk. It's kind of a basic calligraphy stroke. And the color of the bamboo, you want it a little darker than this. You could go completely black. I like it maybe a little lighter, but it's probably going to be black. Pretty much. I'm just getting some water in my brush because this is one I just picked up. This is the medium brush. Okay. So I'm going to start at the bottom. And then make sure you leave a space for the joint. Ah, look, I just spilled paint over. Oh, well. Just keep going here. I am a messy artist because I have so much fun. I'm just leaving a break and going all the way up. I'm going to take this and dab this off. As Bob Ross says, happy little mistakes. That can give some kind of shade into the mountain. So don't freak out if something like this happens. Just keep going. Sometimes like mistakes like that actually makes it cool. All right, so we're going to do two. I got one here. The other one I might not make as straight. I might want to make it a little more crooked just to make it more interesting. And I want some kind of space between here so I have room for the branches and the leaves. And I don't want all the joists at the same point. So I'm going to probably stop it right there. So it won't be the same. Maybe I'll make this guy a little more crooked. And go all the way up. Now you're going to grab your smaller brush and you're going to get just straight black or watered down black. And you're just going to draw a line at the bottom of each joint here. It doesn't look much, but it does, I don't know, it just makes it look more finished. It kind of hides the bumpy strokes. Okay, so that's what you should have right now. All right, now we're going to just throw some branches on with the same brush, same dark color. And it's okay if you have different shades, like this is a darker bamboo, that's fine. You want different tones of variations. If this is completely black with the leaves all the same, because we're going to do different color leaves, if everything was the same color, it just wouldn't look interesting. So again, I'm holding my brush. And you want your branches to come out for each joint here. And you just want to relax and move your whole arm and go with it. Just figure out where branches should go. You might want to step back and say, you know, I kind of feel like this spot is missing one, or maybe that feels like an empty space. You might want to add some branches, or maybe this branch looks too not enough on it. Just step back and just decide where you want your branches. There's not really any wrong way. It's kind of like where you want to fill your space, but just let it flow. Your ink should flow off of your brush pretty easily, otherwise it's kind of dry. And like I said, with a bigger surface, it's easier to have a nicer flow strokes and painting than the small squares I was doing last week, just to show you some examples. So just This should be a lot more relaxed and flow more. All right, so you have some branches out there. Now we're gonna get some leaves on here. And I don't want just black leaves. I want to add some color. So I'm going to put some green in here and some black leaves and some gray. I want different variations and tones. So we're going to come back to what we mixed here with the blue. And I'm going to grab the yellow right here. I'm going to put a dot. And I'm going to make a green. It doesn't really matter, but you're going to mix a green that you feel like you really like, which would be blue and yellow, and you couldn't even use this because this is a lighter blue. It's got white in it. I find the white helps. Sometimes yellow is very opaque. It shows, like when you paint over dark surfaces, it just it's transparent, rather opaque. It's transparent, using the wrong word. So adding white will make it more opaque. So I got kind of like a green here. Hi, Marilyn. All right, so you got your green here for your leaves. We'll start with the green. All right, so this, just want to re-show this so I don't drip paint over we want to shape it again to a really fine point. This is your small brush. And we're going to add leaves. We're going to sprinkle it throughout the green because we're going to put some grays and also black in here. So we do not want just one color on one area. So remember, I don't remember how I explained it last time, but we're going to keep the point up, and then we're going to put pressure, and as you pull towards you, you're going to release pressure and pull up. So I'm going to add, it's like no pressure, pressure, pull up. And you're going to get like a teardrop. I don't know if you can see that because it's light green here. But it looks almost like a skinny leaf. That's what you're going for. So I might want to add, let's see, one here. And if it doesn't flow very well, maybe you just need a little water. I'm just throwing some green leaves everywhere because I'm going to add more color. And bamboo leaves kind of droop down. And that's okay because I pulled some of that black in. We're going to have black leaves anyway. My Spotify does not want to work well today. I like having music when I paint. All right. So we got some green going on here. I'm going to put one more. You know, you might want to step back. Say, okay, that's a good spread there. Now I'm going to take something maybe like this color ink. I don't want it really black. Maybe just like a light gray here. So it's ink with a lot of water. And we're going to make some gray leaves mixed in here. And a lot of these bamboo leaves sometimes have like pairs, almost of threes. So I kind of want to put them some next to the greens. I'm just throwing on, having fun. Again, I'm just tapping, pushing, putting pressure, and as I pull up, I'm releasing. So, little tap with the tip of your brush, pressure, release. I hope that explains kind of what my movement is, what I'm doing here. Okay, and now I'm going to add some little darker leaves. I'm going to just add more black or more ink. I'm gonna go to the black. I might actually almost go completely black. Maybe a little lighter. Because I like to have a little, I wanted to put a little color in tonight's landscape. I like to have just a little bit of color. Let's see. I'm trying to decide what I want here. And if you notice, like, having different tones just makes it, I don't know, pop more. Maybe throw one there. Just relax. This guy could use some more leaves. And then, like, step back and, like, oh, well, maybe that looks empty. I think I'll add a leaf here. And it's kind of like what you want. I think I'm pretty good here. All right. That's for the bamboo. I'm going to show you a little more so you can see better how it looks like. Okay, now for the bottom, I feel like the bottom's just a little empty, so I'm going to put some rocks down there. And we did practice that on the first lesson, I believe. They were just simple little gestures of rocks. So I guess this small brush still. You can use your medium, whatever. Again, I'm shaping it to a point. And I'm gonna do this black. And I'm making, like, I don't wanna go over the bamboo, I kinda wanna go behind. And I'm just gonna make like half circles, but bumpy. And like kind of, and bamboo doesn't really grow in rocks, but there's patches of soil up in the mountains when I sometimes hike, and they're like an overlook, and so I figured the rocks might just make it look more complete. Maybe and you can even add some texture. I don't know, like dots if you want. I'm just giving you options here. You can do dots. You could if you want to take some white ink, you can even shade them. So let's see. Put some white ink here. Or maybe I can even pull it off the ink from what I drew. So maybe I want to shade them this way. Yeah, I don't even need to put ink. I can just pull it off on the side here. Just give them some shape. I'm just pulling the ink out actually from the stroke I just did. And you can hold your brush, you know, I just taught you to hold it straight up, or you can hold it sideways, as long as you're using your whole arm and you're not just using your wrist. That's the idea. You can even, you know, just different ways, you know, with your fingers, whether you want in the front or the back. I tend to switch back and forth. I haven't decided my favorite. I think when I'm more upright, I like my fingers in the front, but when I'm angling, I like them more in the back. But it's what you're comfortable with. I've seen both ways being held both ways. All right. So I'll show you what it looks like now. And that's where you should end up, except for the blotch there. But you know what? Let's make that into something. Like if you weren't here in the beginning, I dripped ink on there from cleaning the brush. But I'd say this, if you make a mistake, just leave it. Sometimes it makes it very interesting. And don't feel like your artwork is ruined. But I don't know, it looks kind of like rocks anyway, so there you have it. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'll see if I can do something with that as I start closing up here. And this is a really easy and fun landscape to do. I encourage you to try it this week. Even if you just have watercolors laying around, this is a lot of watercolor concepts that you can even use. And if you do have watercolor, the ink won't be so runny. You could just use watercolor black ink here. You might have to water it down a lot. Thank you, Cindy. I might just want to shade this. I like the kind of water blotches, so I might actually leave it. Or what you could, I think I'm going to make, sometimes mountains have darker sides, so make it look like you're supposed to do that. All right, so give it a try this week and don't change the drip. I messed around with it because I have a couple of these paintings. I already finished this. Here's my finished one. One of my ones I started with. So I have a couple of these laying around. All right, so try this at home, and if you did it, let me know how it goes. Please post it on the group. I love to see it. And if you even want to use different colors, I mean, have fun with it. All right, so you have a fun week, and find time this week to relax and do something for yourself, and just get some nice music and a nice coffee or a cup of tea and relax and have me time. So, all right, you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next Sunday.